Welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and today we are talking about the topic of Maxx Crosby, the Las Vegas Raiders' star defensive end, and what the clear crossroads between him and the Raiders means and whether the Jacksonville Jaguars should get involved in some capacity. Now, Crosby, I'd say right now is probably the biggest name that you see in constant trade talks. I'd say him and A.J. Brown. And when I say trade talks, I of course mean, speculation. Things have been boiling, I'd say, for a while on the Crosby end. A lot of people, thought as the Raiders kept losing and losing and losing games last season, maybe it was time for them to, finally just cut them loose and try to get something for them while they rebuild. And then I believe it was 17 happened when they told him they were shutting him down. He wasn't playing. He had been battling a knee injury all year, and they told him, you know what, season's over. More than less. There's no point in you attempting to play and potentially re-injuring yourself. They kept him off the field the last few games. He clearly was not happy with that. As reports stated, he left the facility that day. I believe Pete Carroll later confirmed as much. And since then, it seems like things between him and the Raiders, have been icy. I know he's made a few comments indicating they've minted it over and whatnot, but that was before Jay Glazer spoke. I mean, Jay Glazer is one of those NFL insiders who he just has so many tight connections with players in the league that he's close personal friends with that it's hard to discount anything he says. And he reported from Radio Row directly about Crosby and about how he believes his time as a Raider is done. Now, how accurate is it? Like I said, I fully believe in Jay Glazer's sourcing and whatnot. Here is exactly what he had to note. He obviously points out that Crosby was not happy with the decision for him to not play. He was asked if he thought Crosby's time with the Raiders was finished, and he said, "I do." He then said that there are a ton of teams that make sense for Crosby and said that he believes that he can get more than what Micah Parsons fetched on the open market. Glazer says that, he has as much said this to Mark Davis and that he has made it clear that he doesn't want to go through another rebuild, which has more or less been his entire Raiders career. I mean, he's played for Gruden, so obviously it was kind of meh until Gruden got fired. Played for Josh McDaniels, no good. Played for Antonio Pierce, no good. Played for Pete Carroll, who was somehow worse than Antonio Pierce. I'm not sure I'm ever going to quite get to 2025 Raiders, but that's where we are today. It looks like Maxx Crosby wants to play for a team that can be a contender. And that makes sense. You can argue that he's either in the very prime years of his career or is about to start slowing down to an extent and is about to enter the last couple years of his career where it looks like you're getting peak level play from him. It's not to say he won't still be productive for years to come, but I'd say the best years of Maxx Crosby are getting here, right about to where we are now, the next couple of years. If you're the Jaguars, is there a move outside of Maxx Crosby that would either improve the team more or go to show once again that the Jaguars are willing to be aggressive and bold, much like that same franchise that they've emulated so many things from, the Los Angeles Rams? James Gladstone said after the Travis Hunter pick that, to Jags fans anxious about losing the draft picks, that James Gladstone felt like he was uniquely prepared to handle the Travis Hunter trade because he lived and worked through the F them picks era. Attempting to get Crosby would be exactly that. It would be the most F them picks thing the Jaguars could do. Arguably even more so than the Hunter move. Because trading for Hunter, obviously a massive move with a ton of draft capital involved, and I mean, there's no understating just how significant the investment the Jaguars made in Hunter was. But at least he was on a rookie deal. At least he is on a rookie deal. He's not costing him very much toward the salary cap. If you're trading for Crosby, and if it is indeed more than what Micah Parsons got, you have to factor in his age. You have to factor in the contract, obviously. It's hard to believe that he would be a more significant deal. So I think that if the Jaguars do want to go down that path, and I'm not sure that they do, obviously you put out feelers. We'll see as the weeks progress, see how interested the Jaguars are in such a move. But ultimately, if the Jaguars want to take the big home run swing this offseason, that seems like it'd be it. We've talked about John Franklin Myers as a big fish. He doesn't come close to the stratosphere of a Maxx Crosby. And I do think the Jaguars could add Maxx Crosby and still get him on the field a ton with Trayvon Walker. Get him on the field a ton with Josh Allen. I mean, two absolutely fantastic players, him and Hines Allen, coming from the same draft. They're at the same point in their careers. Hines Allen has battled fewer injuries than Crosby has. I think Crosby's usage and the level of snaps he played is probably near the very top in the NFL during his career. Not many guys have played as much and gone as hard as he has, which is one of the appeals to him. But if you're the Jaguars and you're thinking, what's the biggest way to improve this team this offseason? It's improving the pass rush, which you already have two good edge rushers. They are not the problem with the pass rush. The problem is the depth in the interior rush. And no, does Maxx Crosby help your interior rush? Maybe not directly. He could, however, just with his presence, lead to more Trayvon Walker snaps inside, which I think would be a positive for the Jaguars. He was a difference maker as an interior pass rusher last season when the Jaguars put him in that position. As the year went on, the Jaguars, it seemed like realized more and more that Walker was just an extremely versatile and dangerous mismatch up front. They clearly always knew that, but he fought injuries for much of the season, and it seems like it took until that last little stretch for the aha moment to come with him. If you get Crosby, no, I don't think Trayvon Walker's turning into a 3-tech or anything like that. He's still playing a ton of edge. But I do think on pass rushing downs, you get a scenario where it's Josh Hines Allen and Maxx Crosby on the outside, Trayvon Walker on the inside. Add in a fourth rusher, whether that's Eric Armstead, whether they bring back Dewan Smoot, whether that's Dane Strigow, BJ Green, whoever it is. It would make the Jaguars lethal. It truly would. The question is, do the Jaguars have the draft capital for it? They don't have a first-round pick this year. You'd have to imagine you're giving up next year's first-round pick. And to make just one first-round pick in the first 3 years, at least, of the regime, that's even if it doesn't cost a second first-round pick to land Crosby. If Jay Glazer is correct that he is going to cost even more than Micah Parsons. So at the end of the day, I think it is critical to remember that while Parsons is enticing, and while he would certainly add a lot to the mix for the Jaguars, just from a cost perspective, it's hard to imagine that this is a move that could be feasible. But boy, would it be a big swing.